It is time to get started, and I'm super excited to be here as you guys are joining in. My name is Danielle. I am a former teacher, 10 years. I've kind of taught all over, spent my first couple of years in Honduras, and then actually taught in the Valley in Port Isabel, as well as Brownsville and Weslaco, and then went to Dallas and decided to kind of leave the classroom after teaching in Dallas ISD. Not sure if anyone's ever taught in like a really large ISD like that, but definitely a lot different than teaching when I taught in Port Isabel and Brownsville. So decided to go ed tech and have loved it because it's been really great to share tools that I truly believe work in the classroom. And so happy that you guys joined us here today. My background is in early childhood education, but I am certified all the way to 12th grade. Also have a background and certification for supporting ELL learners. And so this particular session is about utilizing data and in fact, the STAAR test prep material inside Curipod to inform how you can reach and grow your students each and every day. So I'm going to really dive into that, the report sections of Curipod, and how to build a STAAR test prep lesson and how to build a lesson to help support your students in those objectives. Hopefully that's something that resonates with you. If you don't mind, just to inform how I demonstrate this lesson, would you let me know your familiarity with Curipod? Have you used it? Never used it? Seen it before? If you could put that in the chat or even come off mute and share that with me, that will help me know how specific I need to be with my demonstration today. Never used it. Perfect. Never. Anyone else have never heard of it? Awesome. I'm glad that you joined us if you haven't heard of us. Used it last year with ECR and SCR lessons. Thanks so much for sharing that. I'd love if you have used it before, if you thought it was impactful, then you can also chime in at any time and let us, I might ask you here, if you don't mind sharing, what you thought about it, how you used it, what you found that was useful for your students. Never, never, never. Perfect. Never used it. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So that gives me an idea. So I will definitely get do a deep dive here, since you guys, a lot of you have not used it before. If you've never created an account before, I'm going to have you go ahead and do that as we're about to launch this lesson. Just do this in a separate tab. You can create a free account. You can access the SCR test prep. Anything outside of that would be on the paid plan. So if you're not on, if your school has not purchased Curipod before, you can always reach out to us if you decide it's something that you would like your school to purchase. But for right now, we'll focus on SCR anyways. And then if you want more than that, just let me know. I will be at the secondary best practices next week on Wednesday. So if you are there, please come to one of my sessions. I am happy. We'll be doing another deep dive and let me know that you've already sat on in this session. It would be great to build on that as well. So be there next week. I see we have 26 people in this session, but only 12 people joined. As a teacher, I'm just going to point out how I would use Curipod in my classroom. If I have 20 bodies in my classroom and only 10 people have joined, I'm going to say, hey guys, make sure you're jumping in on this lesson. I also have a moderation tool down here on the right. If you can see that, I can open moderation tool. This will open up in a separate tab and let me know who's joined in. I can see your real names. The goal of that is really just to help you identify which students you need to support in your lesson. Yes, it's anonymous to everyone else, but the teacher needs to know, hey, who needs extra support? Or who is, maybe not participating. You can oversee that in your moderation tool down here. This can be opened up on a tablet, phone, or another device. So love to see that we have a few more people joining in. I'm going to go ahead and get the lesson started because we have a lot to cover, and I want you guys to be able to walk away with at least 1 or 2 lessons that you can utilize in your classrooms in the first couple of weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. You can always join in on this lesson. I love that I still see people joining in. Right now, you're seeing the teacher's, I'm showing you the teacher screen, how you would present. On your screen in your tab, you have the student view. That's really important because I wanted you guys to have the student experience so you know how it feels like for students to join in on the lesson, the functionality of Curipod. As you can see, we don't roster students. They join in with a PIN code and their real name. I can look at my moderation tool. So if I wanted, I see someone joined in with the name AM, and that's fine for this purpose. But if I were a teacher in my classroom, I might dismiss them, have them rejoin and put their full name so I know that who this is, because you'll see in this session, we're going to pull reports. And it's important that we have reports that that will reflect the students' names, and so we know who we need to provide support to. So thank you guys for joining in. We're going to click start, and at any time you guys can join this lesson. So if you get booted out or you can't find your tab and you need to rejoin, it's always be up here, Curie.live, and here's the pin. Or you can always use the link in the chat that I put here. You can always click on that link and it'll take you right back to this lesson, so you won't get lost. Our lesson objective today, every Curipod lesson starts with an objective. That's super important because you need to know the expectation for this class. And I want you guys to get the most out of this. So today we're going to learn about TEKS-aligned Curipod lessons. It's important that our stuff is TEKS-aligned. How can it work with your current curriculum? Your curriculum is also TEKS-aligned, and so we want to make sure that we're working there. And how can we utilize AI feedback, tying into TA, the rubric that's in TA, and using that data to help boost STAAR readiness and help guide your instruction each and every day. And I think that's also really important. If you get data, what do you do with it? How can you help your students? And we're going to cover that today. So we always start every Curipod lesson starts with a hook. This naturally happens in Curipod when you generate a lesson. Our curriculum team is on the forefront of every single lesson created inside Curipod. We utilize AI for content, but a curriculum team is essential for best pedagogical practices being put into place in every lesson. So every lesson generated will have a hook, and here's our hook today. I want you guys to participate in this poll. 8 a.m., your dashboard glows red. 60% of your students scored below mastery on TEKS 7.8D last night. STAAR is 2 weeks away. You open your plan for today's lesson. What are you going to do? I want to hear. I'm going to add 1 more minute just to make sure that was really short. I'm going to get everyone. So you can see down here, I can see 5 people participated. I have 17 people on this lesson joined in. I would love to get to at least 10 people answering this poll. So just all you do is click one of the answers. We got 6. Let's get to 10. I'm going to wait. 7. 3 more responses. Here we go. Just 2 more. 9. 1 more. 10. All right. 11. Awesome job. End activity. As a teacher, you're always in control of your activities. You can add more time or end it early. So, okay. So I see most people said they're going to scrap their plan. They're going to reteach now using Curipod's AI feedback. Awesome. Especially if you said you didn't, you haven't used Curipod before, you might be like, oh, this may sound good. Depends probably on that feedback. If you click the other one, you're probably wondering like, okay, well, what is Curipod's AI feedback? So I'm going to just stick with what I know. That's totally okay too. I was just curious. Hopefully that didn't give anyone any anxiety on that. All right. So we're going to just go ahead and start diving in. This is a very hands-on presentation, you guys. So I hope you are ready to kind of dive into Curipod. So we're going to start off here because we're going to want you to see what the AI feedback feels like as a student, but we're going to write one paragraph. It doesn't have to be a full paragraph, explaining the first 3 steps you'll take to build this Curipod activity, why each step in STAAR readiness. You may not know this off the top of your head, but I just kind of want you guys to think about how you might build a lesson. And again, if you've not used Curipod, that's okay. I just want you to get a feel of what this AI feedback looks like. And if you've not used Curipod, you could just say, I've never used Curipod. Or how could I build an activity? I don't know what it looks like. So I see we got a few people responding. You can just write one sentence. The goal here is to just test the feedback. I've built in this rubric already to give feedback. You guys, when you're creating a Curipod lesson, the rubric, you can edit that rubric to give feedback and make it your own. When we do STAAR test prep, though, that rubric's already built in for you because it has to be aligned to TEA. So that's a rubric you don't edit. In my last session, we did TELPAS test prep, and TELPAS is the same way. We have that rubric built in. So you can't edit that rubric because it has to be aligned to TEA. Everything outside of that, you can edit and make it your own. So I'm going to end the activity in 50 seconds. So if you want to get in there, test out the feedback, please go ahead, write just 1-2 sentences. Just curious. You can write off topic if you want. That's okay too. No judgment here. All right, about 30 seconds to wrap up that writing. Again, if you haven't joined in our lesson, I see we're all there at 21 people, so we're almost there. You can go here to Curie.live and put in this pin. I also put the link to this lesson right here in the chat. You can click on that and then you'll be able to join in on the lesson. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to end this early. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give feedback. So in a lesson, you're always able to give feedback right away, or you can generate the feedback and edit it and make it your own. The teacher's always at the driver's seat of every Curipod lesson. I think it's important to note that so a lot of you haven't used Curipod before. Curipod is an AI tool that's designed to create student-centered lessons. And what I mean by that is every lesson is highly engaging. There will be checks for understandings built throughout every lesson, and every lesson will end with an assessment where students will receive feedback and have the opportunity to try again to improve their feedback. That is incredibly important because there is no way as a teacher you know if your students are performing to that learning objective without testing them. It's very difficult to give them feedback, every single student in your class specific feedback. And this is designed around Hattie's research of closing that feedback loop. So Curipod is a research-based tool. It's not a tool that just kind of popped up out of nowhere. This is specifically designed around a research study that shows that student growth happens when you're able to give instant feedback and also check in on that feedback and have them put it into action. And I think you'll see growth in your students when you start utilizing Curipod and seeing that when they're receiving that feedback and have that expectation in every class, they're going to start taking off and really growing. So here I have all of these answers here. I'm going to just click on this one. Imagine you are orchestrating a vibrant classroom. This was the topic. Ensure the Curipod lesson incorporates specific TEKS objectives. Use AI feedback to guide students. Use real-time data to adjust instruction for targeted students. So this is giving it a little bit more specific on how you can take that to the next level. I would look at the question. As you sit at your laptop, you imagine this. great start. Examining missed questions and reviewing student grouping is crucial. Consider using the data to identify specific skill gaps and plan targeted activities. So I really like this because it's the next level, right? You did a great job here identifying, looking at questions that students missed. But then how can you do this to the next level? And it's utilizing that data. So just a really interesting way to get feedback on general questions. So as we, what did you learn so far? So get ready to discuss what is important for the class to know and why. So far, what have you learned? I'm curious, what have you learned from what we've talked about so far? This is a one word. This is just going to generate a word cloud. What have you learned so far in this session? I'm doing a check-in. We're only 15 minutes in, but hopefully so far you've taken away something. What's important in a lesson when you're conducting in a class to reach those goals, to reach learning objectives, or to increase your test scores? I see one, data. You can add as many words as you want. Planning, awesome. Teacher control, identify students' needs. Being intentional, love it. Okay, about 15 more seconds. Based off of what we've talked about so far, just think about that. How can we help students grow? Oh, thanks, Mary. This seems like a great learning tool. Awesome. I'm glad you think so far. All right. So here, yeah, data, planning, all of these things, teacher being in the driver's seat. That's so important, right? You have to inform what happens in your classroom. Being intentional. All of these things are great, but how do we get them, right? When your students are writing on paper, how long does it take you to give them feedback? How long does it take you to take that feedback and generate data to show you how your students are performing? I imagine it might take a while. So I want you to kind of think about that and how we can utilize AI to do that. So we're going to come back to this and we're going to answer this question as our exit ticket. So we're actually going to jump out of this and we're going to go into a Curipod test prep question lesson. So what I want you to do is, if you would like to create your own STAAR test prep lesson, you can go to curipod.com. If you've never had an account before, just put in your email address, create a free account, and you'll be ready to go. I put it again in the chat. But I'm going to show you how to generate. If you don't want to create your lesson right now, that's okay. I highly recommend it, because if we're going to spend an hour on a Saturday together, I think you should walk away with some content that you can utilize in your class. So let's generate a lesson. We're going to come back to generating a full lesson. I want to start with a test prep lesson. And I think this is so important in the first couple of weeks of school, because this is a really great time to see, okay, what do my students know? Where are they landing? Where are they starting from, right? You're going to probably have a variety of students all over the place. So I'm going to start with RLA, and I'm going to do a short constructed response question. We do have every subject that is STAAR tested here for every grade level. So if you're like, hey, Danielle, I'm not ELA, I'm a math teacher, great. We have, we have written responses for math here. I'm going to do short constructive response, because if you're creating a free account, this is on the free account, and I want you guys to be able to follow along. I'm going to click next, and I'm going to create with AI. But notice here, I need to point that out, that you can upload your own materials. So you can utilize your current curriculum, upload a passage here. That's the same for social studies, science, and you can align it to your grade level. So here, I'm going to go informational, just because that's the free portion. I'm going to select a grade level here. I'm just going to do 5th grade. and we can create on any topic. Why I love utilizing this is because now I can create a passage about anything, and it really draws your students in. So if you've been using your curriculum passages, it's great, but if you want to spice things up a little bit, all of a sudden you start writing about like football season coming up, and you're writing about the Dallas Cowboys, or you're reading about Taylor Swift's new album, which I just did a lesson on that. Kids got super excited. You can do anything. So students love giving suggestions to stories to Curipod. Yes, you can even vote on it. Get kids involved in creating, right, this lesson. So you could, you know, have everyone raise their hand. For today, I'm going to do back to school, or first day of school. Cool. Person ISD. Okay. And then we can pick the skill that you guys are focusing on. I'm gonna just go with supporting inferencing and go there. So we're gonna generate this lesson. Every test prep lesson is structured the same way by design. This isn't necessarily going to take a full class period, so you could utilize this at the end of a class period or the second half. For SCRs, it's a little bit quicker. For ECR, they can pre-write before and put it in Curipod, so there's a few different ways to do this. But I want you to note here that in this test prep lesson, we start off with coaching the students on the rubric, and then going into the passage, reading it together, scaffolding them into before they're about to write their actual response to the question for this assessment. So we always want to get them warmed up and make sure they have that language to get started. Also, you want to see like, hey, did they actually read this passage? Do they understand what we just read? So what I'm going to actually ask you guys to do is we're going to do this lesson because I want to get some data so I can show you how we utilize the data after this lesson to inform our next lesson that we would teach. So I'm going to click start now. I hope I don't lose anyone here because we're going to have a couple tabs open here. I'm going to click start now. I'm going to turn my Curipod off. And I'm actually going to have you guys also join in on this lesson at risk of maybe some people, this might be a lot of tabs, but I hope you guys, this works. So you can go to Curie.live or go to, or you can use the pin or link that I just put into the chat. It's really important that I get a few of you to participate just so we have some data to use to create the next lesson. Awesome. Thank you so much for you guys joining. I'm actually going to join too on another tab here. So that way I can also write and give us some more data to utilize. So if you see me typing, that's what I'm going to be doing. All right. Getting lots of you guys. Great. You guys will have I love being able to test out the SCR feedback and scoring. Remember, you're going to get a score that is aligned to the TA rubric. If you haven't joined in yet, you can still click the link at any time or join at Curie.live. So now you're in 2 Curipod lessons at the same time. That's so fun. Okay, so here we're gonna coach on this. I think this is huge. I've seen this implemented in classrooms where students, you can literally say, okay, what do you get 1 point for? Correct response. What do you get 2 points for? Evidence from text. And students can recite this because they've been coached on it throughout the year. So we're going to read this passage. And again, I think we picked, what did we pick? 5th grade. So this is a 5th grade aligned lesson here. And you guys have an opportunity to read it on your own. If you notice on the left-hand part of your screen, you have a materials button. Click materials. And you can open up the passage that way as well. All right. So let's see. What is something you relate to in this text? So I'm going to go ahead. This is going to help inform our data. So get us a good picture of where everyone's at. And so it's important that everyone participates in this. Just write, what is something you relate to in this text? Everyone should be writing here. And it can be one word, it can be one sentence, whatever you choose. All right, I have a couple people responded. 5, 6. I'm going to open up my moderation tool here so I can kind of see where everyone's at too. Great. Awesome, awesome. Going back to school. I'm from Texas. Is anything you relate to? All right. I'm going to give you guys about 10 more seconds. And I'm going to in the activity. Perfect. And now we're going to have a chance to vote on the most relatable. Again, if you've never used Curipod, it's very engaging. It gives you the opportunity to have students review each other's work anonymously. It's so important because now every student's voice is heard in every class, and it takes away that nervous feeling. I think someone mentioned nerves and butterflies in their stomach. Oh my gosh, yes. And so when you have a tool like this that allows for students to have their voice heard, but it's anonymous and safe for them, now all of a sudden you really have a clear vision of who your students are. Imagine now you have, it's the first day of school, kids are shy, but they get to participate. So you're kind of learning who your students are in a really safe way for your students as they begin to build trust with you. All right. What is something you relate to? First day of school. Yes. Everyone might have had a first day of school, I assume. The butterflies I get. Yes. The excitement and nervousness. So these polls are great. Imagine that this is a student who doesn't usually get their voice heard or is shy. They end up on a podium. Resume. I almost logged out of this. Or imagine that this comes up and now you have a really great classroom discussion. Why did you guys choose this one? What stuck out about this answer to everyone? So you don't have to call on a student, but it's a really great way to review student work. But also it makes every student feel safe and like they can participate. So here we go into the SCR, why you guys are all here. Let's go ahead and write. So we're writing based off of paragraph 5. What can the reader infer about the importance of the first day at PSJA ISD? Support your answer with evidence from the text. So a reminder of the work here, Curipod music. I think this is important. You can write as you think your students might write. You can write as you want to. You can just write one word. The goal here is to test feedback. See what it feels like. See what it looks like. Get a score. Tell me if you agree with the score. Tell me if you don't agree with your feedback. Do you feel like the feedback is useful? In the last session prior to this, I did cover how you can support ELL students in your classroom as well as EB students. You can make this a bilingual lesson and have students respond in Spanish and receive feedback in Spanish if that's something that would be of value to you. We recognize that sometimes students aren't ready yet to write in English, maybe especially the first couple weeks of school. So you might have them respond in Spanish and get feedback in Spanish just to support them where they are, and then scaffold them throughout the year to being able to write in English. So we also have that TELPAS test prep if that's something of value to you as well. And so we hope that you can explore that if that's something that resonates with you and what your students are needing. I'm going to go ahead and respond to our Right. I submitted my response. Again, you can write as little or as much as you want. We have about 6 responses. We do have 15 people participating. So please, please, please just write even a word, something like that. It'll give us some data too to help inform our next part of this session. I'm only going to give you guys probably about 50 more seconds because I want to make sure we have time for everything. And this is the first time I've presented this content like that, and I feel like I might have stretched it a little bit, but we're gonna definitely maximize the time here so you guys can get the most out of the hour we're spending together. But I just want to make sure we have enough time to cover everything. Okay, I'm gonna end activity. Please don't be upset with me for ending early. This is where you'll find students saying, no, give me more time, or I need more time, miss. That happens all the time in Curipod lessons. So hopefully you get some of those reactions in your classroom in the first couple of weeks. All right, I just ended it. There's a couple different ways I can give feedback. I can generate and edit it first, or I can give it directly to students. Think about this. Everyone in this class just received feedback at the same time. You guys can now review it on your screen. You should see your score. You should see your feedback. Now, imagine in a classroom of 25 students, you gave 25 students specific immediate feedback all together at the same time. They're now looking through their feedback. They're looking at each other and saying, hey, I got a 1, or I got a 2, or listen to what this said. And you're going to hear them talking to each other about feedback that was given to them. It's incredibly powerful when everyone is learning together, because it brings everyone from every level meeting the same expectation at the same time. And now they're able to grow together and see that growth. So it's just a really amazing opportunity for students to work together, but also have that individualized experience. So I'm going to click on one of these. Based on paragraph 5, I can infer that the first day of school could be nerve-wracking. So got a 0, include evidence from the text to support your inference. Try find a part of paragraph 5 that shows why the first day is important. This will help you support your inference with evidence from the text. So she did not, or he did not put the evidence from the text, and so that would be your specific feedback. I'm curious I'm going to move on to this poll, but in the chat, as you guys have reflected and read your feedback, what did you think of the feedback? Do you mind putting that in the chat or coming off mute as we're doing this poll? What did you think of your feedback? Was it useful? Do you think it's something that would help students? Do you think it would help you, like, alleviate some of your time maybe? Feedback is great. Love that. Thanks, Maria, for sharing. Is there anything you would change? Do you wish it said or did something different? I'm always happy for some feedback that helps the product grow and meet your needs. All right, so we have a poll. We've asked students to reflect on that feedback. Need to correct to make their writing better. Love that. Was easy to understand. Was told what I could add. It does provide immediate response. Allow students to rethink their answer. Yes, love that. Yes, really good points, guys. So we had everyone reflect. Really, the gold mine here is having them rewrite. So I think this is extremely important, because if you don't have them put that feedback into action, you'll never know if they really understood their feedback. So we're going to do this because I think you need to see that experience. So instead of rewriting, you can always go to slides on the left-hand side of your screen, jump back to slides where you wrote, and use the copy button, the little rectangles, to copy and paste your answer into the next screen if you want to. Completely up to you, but just know that students don't have to completely rewrite. They can actually copy and paste their answers. All right. Your goal here might be able to see, okay, can I improve it? And I love that. So try to see if you can get a higher score. Try to see if you got a 0, you can get a 1 or 2. Is there any differentiation for students to get speech to text accommodation? Sharon, amazing question. I'm glad you asked. If you already are using that, any extension that you're using, the students already have on their devices, usually there's a Chrome extension or something of the sort. This is compatible with any of those extensions that you already have. So it will do speech to text with those extensions that are embedded in student devices. It actually is on our roadmap to build that in to Curipod as it being just embedded in the platform. It's not there yet, but you can just use what's already embedded on the student computer. And we have lots of people who utilize that extension. All right, we have 5 people. Should be, we're still doing pretty well. I haven't lost too many people yet. I appreciate you guys jumping around with me here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the activity. I kind of see that everyone's pretty much stopped writing, and I'm going to give feedback. I am going to, so we got some good writing here. I'm going to pick this one. I still got a 0 because this is mine, because I didn't quite use evidence from the text, but I did kind of get a little bit more on track here on my feedback. I want to put here, someone got a 1 here. Great job. You included direct quotes from the text to support your answer. So to improve, use a direct quote from paragraph 5, like importance of kindness. This will make your response stronger and more complete. Keep practicing using evidence from the text to back up your ideas. I love that. Did anyone beat their score from last time? You can say yes or no. Does anyone disagree? Yes, good job, Olga. Pat yourself on the back. All right. Okay, so we're going to keep moving forward. I'm not going to do this activity. This is a little brain break, which is great. But we're not going to actually do this. I have to press start, though, and we're going to exit out of this, too. And an activity. And we're going to generate a report. So this is really where I think the value comes. Great, we just did this awesome lesson. Students are growing and love it. Perfect. But what next, right? What are we going to do with this information? So after you end a lesson, a report is going to be generated. First, you'll see this participation report. I'm going to click Generate Insights. And I appreciate everyone for jumping in. And even if you participated some, it will at least give us some data to do next steps. So here's our learning objective. And here is our report as a class. This is our class summary report. So the students understood that the first day of school involves more than just academics, focusing on relationships, positive mood. Where are common misconceptions? We struggle to use specific evidence from the text to support their inferences about the importance of the first day of school. I'm going to copy that just so we have that. Here's an action item. We can organize a text detective game. So usually these action items do take place outside of Curipod. The goal is that we want students to be hands-on. Not everything should happen on a device. And I hope you feel the same way, because in Curipod, we truly believe that learning happens together in the classroom with hands-on activities, with talking, with cooperative learning, as well as some of these writing activities and polling and things like that. It should be a variety. And then it will identify the top 5 students who need extra help. I'm going to click on me because I don't want anyone to be called out here. I'm going to generate insights, and now I'm going to get specific insights on myself here to see how I can help this student. So here it says, I understand the general theme of text. How can I grow? So I need help with evidence from the text to substantiate my responses. My feedback in instances highlight this need of indicating a lack of direct quotes. So I didn't put any direct quotes or detailed references to the text in my answers. So imagine now you have a report like this for every single student. You have a glow, a grow, an action item. What do you do with this? There's a few things. If you're lucky enough to have a resource teacher, great. This is awesome to provide to a resource teacher to give them extra help, support. If you have small groups, now I can put my groups together based on these reports, and I can support those students. But what if you notice, as we notice in this summary, that all the students are having trouble with this? The majority. I see that there's a gap. Here's the wonderful thing about Curipod is I've identified this gap, and now how can I close this gap? Am I going to wait a couple of weeks to close this gap? No, I can immediately create a lesson for tomorrow to help support my students. So I'm going to show you how you do that. We're going to go to my lessons. Ooh, I'm running short on time. We're going to generate a lesson up here. I'm going to hustle through this. I'm going to create a ELA lesson for 5th grade. And I'm going to copy and paste this information that my report gave me. I'm going to click next. So now it's reading through what I just wrote, and it's going to ask me a couple of questions to make sure this learning objective is correct. Do I need to standards alignment? Yes, I want to align it to TEKS. Keep in mind that you can create a lesson on any grade level, any subject. If you're a CTE teacher, you can create on, we had someone do a barbecue lesson. You can create on anything, but I'm going to specifically focus on this TEK and to help my students grow. So this is going to be a reteach lesson. So I'm just coming down here. That's my instructional focus. Do I want to have a relevance limb? Do I want to focus on anything specific? And let's do the lens of first day of school again. First day of school. Okay, so we're going to keep that theme going because I probably will do this the next day. I notice there's a gap already. Let's go and let's make sure we close that gap the first week of school. So here's my learning objective. Want to make sure that I am focused here. It's aligned to the TEKS. We'll actually cite 2 specific pieces of evidence from the text to justify an inference about the first day of school. Great. This looks awesome. And I'm going to generate lesson. So now what you'll notice in Curipod is it's going to generate a lesson. It's always going to start with an assessment. It's going to start with the end assessment, an exit ticket. That exit ticket is going to be a feedback activity similar to what we just did for the STAAR test prep. So it's going to ask the student to complete an assessment. It's going to ask them to reflect on their feedback and rewrite, just like we just did. So as it's generating, it's going to start with that exit ticket. On the left-hand side, it's going to talk us through what it's generating and why, what's the importance. So you can see that it generated this exit ticket. This exit ticket aligns to my learning objective, and now it's building up a performance test that helps build students to mastering that learning objective. So as you'll notice in this lesson, every slide leading up to this to this assessment is going to scaffold students to being successful in this learning objective and in that assessment. You'll also notice that the rigor will increase. strategically throughout the lesson. So you're ensuring that you're helping that student building their knowledge and skills throughout the lesson so they can be successful. You're also going to notice checks for understanding throughout the lesson. So that way, if you're 5 minutes into this lesson and you do a check for understanding, you'll know right away if your students are understanding this concept. That is incredibly important because you don't want anyone getting left behind in the beginning. I also want to point out that when I was teaching, I hand created most of my materials. I started teaching in 2010. So there wasn't a lot of technology. It took me an incredibly long time to create this stuff and to think about all these best pedagogical practices, ensuring that they're in my lesson was incredibly difficult. Curipod is designed to ensure that you have those best practices in place every single lesson. So when your admin walks into the door, they can see that happening in your classroom, and your teacher, you'll notice the growth in your students happening in every lesson. So our lesson is done generating. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, because this is honestly our newest output for Curipod. If you used it in the past, this is different. This how this lesson is generated is different than it was 6 months ago. Over the summer, we did do a huge update. It utilizes a lot more AI, but those best pedagogical practices are in place now to ensure that you have those tools ready to go in your class. And our curriculum team has done some extremely technical and difficult work to ensure that you guys have that support. So in the chat, if you can tell me, what do you think about this lesson so far? Does this resonate with you? Do you think that this would be helpful? You can also come off mute. Feel free. So here's our hook. Here is some direct instruction talking about making inferences, which is an inference. So we're checking for understanding here, giving some more direct instruction. And now we're also doing some checks for understanding with a word cloud. This is right here. Everything we've done so far is on the free version. So that SCR was on the free version, and creating this lesson is on the free version. If you've never used Curipod before, there will eventually, you'll have a lot of usage available to you. At so much usage of AI, you will eventually, there will be a pop-up to ask about the school plan, but you'll be able to create quite a bit of lessons before you get to that point. The goal is to have enough usage so you guys can test this out, use it with your kids, see if it's something that works. If you're liking this so far, I highly recommend when you do a Curipod lesson, have your admin watch one, because that's how you really get bought in with the staff. I'm hoping that you guys see the value here, and your admins will be blown away too by Curipod lessons when you're doing them, because it's that natural engagement that someone was pointed out in the chat. So you have think, pair, share, high five discussion. So those offline activities, cooperative learning happening in your classroom, building those language skills. And then we're going to deepen our learning. We're going to ask, we're going to get AI feedback. So now you're going to notice, okay, we're going to increase that rigor. We're going to ask them to really connect with this learning objective and get them immersed into it, but also kind of stretch their knowledge here. And then you'll go to the end for this exit ticket. So that's how I would utilize my reports to inform my next lesson. And I hope you guys saw that. I want to jump back. I hope I'm not losing anyone here. And we're back into our original lesson that you guys joined. If you don't have this, if you're not in here anymore, I'm going to grab, let's see, I think I put here, copy link. I think this is it. If you want to jump back into this lesson, here's that link. or you can go to Curi.live and jump back in. And we have about 10 minutes. So I am going to describe how you would use data from a Curipod STAAR prep activity to adjust tomorrow's lessons for struggling students. So I'm going to test to see what you took from this particular presentation. This will also help me see if I lost anyone or if I, kind of had some gaps in what I was sharing. But this is a great way for me to know if this was a good way to present this material. This is, again, the first time I've presented on utilizing reports like this, and I kind of took some liberty here to hopefully that everyone could follow along and keep up, even though we jumped to another tab and opened up another lesson. So hopefully that didn't lose anyone. But I always like you guys getting immersed into it, trying out the lesson. Hopefully that resonated with you, because I think it's important for you guys to utilize tools before you try them out in the classroom. And this is a really safe place to do that. And hopefully a good use of the hour that we're spending together. I'm just going to give you about 30 more seconds, and we're going to end this activity. You guys are doing awesome. Okay, I'm going to end activity. Thank you so many for you guys jumping back in and writing. That's so amazing. You guys are awesome. I'm going to end this activity. You're going to get feedback. This is good. I'm curious to see what this feedback, because actually I asked Curipod to generate this lesson for me. So I'm curious to see what the kind of feedback you get. Keep focusing on using data. Your answer is correct, and you shared a clear strategy. Love this. Consider integrating specific data points. So this is not necessarily like a TA rubric aligned, but this is the rubric that Curipod created for me based off of my lesson objective. So this is a good way for you guys to test out that feedback that happens in a general lesson outside of just STAAR test prep. This can be extremely valuable for general lessons. So questions, comments, feedback, start. You guys, please put your feedback in here. Any questions I can answer. My email address is here at the bottom. I'll also put it in the chat. We love meeting with people. So if you want to set up another meeting, if you want a separate demo, if you think that we can improve what we're offering, please tell us. We are teacher focused and centered. Our tool is designed to help teachers help their students grow in the classroom. So if there are gaps there that you see, please let us know. I will be at your secondary best practices PD next week on Wednesday. So if you're there, please come by, check out one of the sessions. We'll be creating lessons together that you can utilize in your classroom in the next week. So again, it will be a very hands-on, I'm going to add another minute there. It'll be another hands-on learning opportunity for you guys to, thanks, love the text. You can add gifts to Curipod, and I was like, oh, this is a fun one for Saturday. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this. Anytime you see us present, you're always going to have an opportunity to get your hands in Curipod, try it out, create lessons. We want to be as interactive as possible, but for you guys to walk away with something that's valuable. So please, 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 we love to hear feedback. And I'm so thankful that we got to be here today, and can't wait to see some of you guys in person next week. And please reach out if you ever have questions. We are here to help you guys. Yes, you can always add more time to your questions. So if you, as you can see, I was adding minutes for you guys to give feedback. You can always add more time for students to answer. I appreciate you guys letting me know, like, sometimes I went a little bit too quick. So I think we could definitely maybe cut down some of the material. I'll have to really think about how I could